Good morning, you're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danny Laurel.
And I'm Jess De Los Santos. Here are the biggest stories to kickstart this trading day, Friday. The government says the economy is now on its way to a resilient recovery after the GDP rebounded from a pandemic-induced slump.
COVID-19 infections continue to drop in Metro Manila. Despite this, the DILG says it's not yet time for the region to ease to more relaxed restrictions.
The Philippine Competition Commission wants to have a say in the assignment of available broadcast frequencies.
And the Bangko Sentral is now pushing for tighter measures. That's amid reports of fake bills dispensed by ATMs. We begin our broadcast with economic managers expecting growth to return to pre-pandemic levels this year.
That's, of course, after the economy expanded more quickly than expected in 2021. Full-year GDP growth came in at 5.6%, a sharp rebound from the record 9.6% contraction logged in 2020. And with the 2021 growth beating the government's target band of 5 to 5.5%, NEDA Chief Carl Chua says the door to economic recovery is now fully open. Among the major contributors to growth were the manufacturing, automotive, and construction sectors. Chua is optimistic that the economy will not only recover to pre-pandemic level this year, but will also achieve the upper middle income country status.
The strong 2021 performance shows us that we are on the correct path to a resilient recovery. The stage is now set for growth to accelerate in 2022.
With COVID-19 numbers showing signs of improvement, some experts believe the capital region is now out of the woods, but the government says it's not yet time for a downgrade to Alert Level 2. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us the front seat to the story.
With COVID numbers consistently going down, things are looking up for Metro Manila. The Octa Research Group says a COVID resurgence in NCR is now highly unlikely, and it may be time to start easing quarantine restrictions and shortening the number of days of those staying in isolation facilities.
We're now down to high risk, and I think within a few days by next week, we'll be down to moderate risk.
Incubation period for Omicron is 3 days as compared to 5. I actually believe we can shorten this to 3.
Coming from more than 20,000 new cases per day, on Wednesday only 2,500 cases were reported in the NCR. Reproduction rate, or the number of individuals a COVID positive could infect, is now down to 0.63. Octa microbiologist Father Nicos Riaco says it looks like the capital region is now already out of the woods. But Interior Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya said we cannot loosen up just yet. But if we finally go down to Alert Level 2, Malaya said we could also let go of the controversial no vax, no ride policy.
Posible po yan dahil ito pong no vax, no ride policy ay applicable lamang pag Alert Level 3 and higher.
But that's still a question mark for the rest of the country, with new daily cases continuing to reach new highs. Baguio City, for example, has a positivity rate of 65%, according to Octa, which means 6 out of every 10 person getting tested for COVID-19 in Baguio turn up positive. The Health Department reported on Thursday 618 new Omicron cases, and majority of these are Omicron subvariant BA.2. But so far, scientists don't see any significant difference between the two subvariant. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
Though the national government remains cautious, Metro Manila mayors say they're ready for a shift in alert levels. On 1PH's Sa Totoo Lang, MMDA General Manager Romando Artes says NCR LGUs are prepared if the national government decides to change the region's alert level, as the capital has gone through almost all of these classifications. Artes also said that the partial number coding scheme must be continued even if the metro is still under alert level 3.
Mahirap po kasi magpapalit-palit ng policy. Anyway, 3 hours lang naman po, hindi po whole day yung ating number coding scheme.
All right, and it's Friday finally. Properties in focus today with a couple of new listings making changes to their initial plans. What's the latest on City Core and Mega World REITs?
Well, first of all, Jess, happy Friday. But indeed, as you mentioned, MREIT willing to infuse 20 billion pesos worth of assets. You've got MREIT President and CEO Kevin Tan saying the company is actually looking to surpass the target for 2022 in terms of asset injection. So earlier, they had already announced an additional 44,300 square meters by the year end, but they're working to further bulk it up. Now, this 20 billion peso acquisition would basically increase MREIT's portfolio value by 34%. That's going to be 78.5 billion pesos worth by the end of this year from the current valuation, which is around 58.5 billion pesos. You can see MREIT trading at 22 pesos and 4 centavos per share. Now, another one, of course, upcoming is City Core REIT. That will be the country's first ever energy real estate investment trust. And they have slashed their offer size and price for their IPO, which is going to be called C-REIT. President and CEO Oliver Tan said that the final price will be 2 pesos and 55 centavos per share. And they're going to be raising 6.4 billion pesos. Now, this is actually a 19% decrease from what they were proposing, which was 3 pesos and 15 centavos a piece. However, Regina Caps Luis Limlingan is saying that reducing the offer size and the price would provide better yields for the investors. So in fact, their projections were showing around 7% annualized dividend yield for this year and 7.4% for 2023. Now, the offer period will be already from next week, so that's Feb 2 to 4, and the target listing is on Feb 17. Now, another one that I wanted to have a look at, Jess, is the financial sector. Very quick check on the banks here. Financial sector up by 0.4%. This, as the Banco Central says, they are preserving monetary support, and that will help growth, saying, it's ready to respond to potential second round inflation effects there if that does happen. And this, of course, also comes as the Philippine Banks' loan standards for consumers eased in the fourth quarter, according to the Banco Central. Particularly, it's easier to now get housing loans, credit card, and personal loans. And this, of course, happens as money markets are pricing in nearly 5 Fed hikes this year, following U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell's hawkish tone on Wednesday. And finally, quick check on how we are moving this morning, down a touch. That's down by 0.11%, trading at 7265.81 for our local index. We are hopefully approaching the tail end of the latest variant surge, which was, of course, awash with challenges, particularly for our workers. And here to share with us the impact and numbers, we have with us the Department of Labor and Employment's ASEC, Dominique Tutay. Hello, ASEC Tutay. Welcome back.
Hi, good morning, Danny, and good morning to all your followers.
Ma'am, very straightforward question. How many jobs were lost? How many people were displaced during Alert Level 3?
As of our January 23 establishment report data, we have already lost about 25,000 jobs permanently by reason of permanent closure or retrenchment and temporary closure. And there's another 27,000 who are affected by various forms of flexible work arrangement. But note that that data is as of January 23. We have yet to analyze the data for this week, and that could be higher because we are already seeing an uptick in the application of our financial assistance under COVID-19 Adjustment Measures Program, which has reached about 35,000 already as of yesterday.
Okay, so you have, initially you had said 25,000, now you're saying 27,000 and around 30,000 workers under flexible work arrangements, and that number is going to be increasing further with the Feb numbers. But ma'am, have you taken into consideration the fact that we might actually be extending Alert Level 3? Of course, everyone's hoping na mag-Alert Level 4 na by Monday, but this is not yet set in stone. How many more would you be expecting if this does happen?
Based on experience, we are losing each time there is a restriction in terms of mobility. our experience is that permanent losses would be anywhere between 30,000 to 50,000 a month.
Okay, so every time there's an extension, 30 to 50,000 a month. Ma'am, you mentioned government aid or ayuda for displaced workers. Who are the workers that can avail of this? You've got the 5,000 peso financial assistance to affected workers. Is this enough, 5,000 pesos, especially since we've already had extended periods of losses? It's not necessarily na nagbabounce back kaagad after 1 month.
Yeah, actually, Danny, this is just a safety net, so it might not be enough really. What is important is for our economy to really open, and that reopening of the market should be sustained so that everyone gets back to their jobs. So that's what we really wanted, because the 5,000 financial assistance that DOLE is giving is really not enough right now.
Okay, Asek Tutay, let me just jump in here very quickly. Looking at the 2022 budget, especially for the Labor Department, you have at least an allocation of 1 billion pesos at least for to aid workers which might be affected by lockdowns. Do you deem that this is going to be enough, especially considering that this virus is very uncertain? For one, we don't know if there will be future variants which would lead to possibly future restrictions or even lockdowns. Is 1 billion pesos enough?
Well, hopefully it should be enough, but based on our experience under Bayanihan 1 and 2, we were able to spend about 10 billion for financial assistance for workers in the informal sector. For this year, for this round, we do hope that it will be enough if and only if the economy will be in full swing. But otherwise, when every time there will be lockdown, we should also reconsider our budget allotted for this purpose. The 1 billion is just an initial amount that we have allocated. But in the event that there will be more displacements coming up, then we will review our financial status, and then hopefully we can request for some reallocation again, because for the 2022 General Appropriations Act under the Social Protection Budget item, we have about 26.5 billion under the TUPAD program, which we can also realign.
Okay, Ma'am Asek Tutay, let's focus first on the now. One major hurdle here for employees would have to be the no-vax, no-ride policy. They have less than a month to get fully inoculated in order for them to access public transportation. In the event that there are a number of workers who will not be fully vaccinated by then, what assistance is the DOLE going to give them?
Actually, my advice on that is just for our workers to get vaccinated so that their mobility will not be restricted. We don't want them to be economically inactive, and that's not good for our economy also.
Ma'am, we just came out with the GDP figures full year yesterday, of course, surprising everyone on the upside. Does this change your forecast on how quickly the labor market will be rebounding and getting back to pre-pandemic levels?
Not yet, Danny, because we know that employment indicators are laggard indicators. Even if you say that GDP has improved, that does not translate directly to employment generation.
Okay, so not yet updating your forecast there, keeping it as conservative for the time being. Ma'am, what about underemployment? We may have, gotten back some jobs, but the type of jobs might now be different, and post-pandemic, or if we have to live with the pandemic, there will be a lot of changes in terms of upskilling, in terms of digitalization. What is the DOLE doing to make sure that the underemployment issues and job profile upskillings are being taken into consideration?
Yeah, for underemployment, I think it will remain high, anywhere between 15 to 17%, because of the flexibility in the labor market. Most of the operations now are under flexible work arrangements, and therefore there is reduction in income of our workers. So what we do we really encourage our workers to transition from one job to another, or they can take on multiple jobs where they can be more productive, and therefore retooling and reskilling is really on top of the priority in the employment recovery under the National Employment Recovery Strategy of the government.
All right, so underemployment seems to remain high, 15 to 17%. You've also got the risk, of course, between 30,000 to 50,000 job losses if alert level 3 does get extended per month. So something to be watching out for there. Thank you for that update. That was ASEC Dominique Tutay of the DOLE.
Thank you.
Now, coming right up, the country's competition watchdog wants to be a part in the process of assigning available broadcast frequencies.
More of that and other stories after this break. Stay with us.
You're still watching Business World Live here on One News. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danny Laurel. The Philippine Competition Commission wants a say in the assignment of vacated or available broadcast frequencies.
The watchdog admits that the reassignment of frequencies previously held by ABS-CBN is not covered by the provisions and merger review under the Philippine Competition Act. That means the PCC need not be notified of the process of reassignment. But moving forward, the PCC is recommending rule amendments to include it as an approving body in the assignment of frequencies. The agency says this is a practice done by many jurisdictions across the globe, given the impact on player competition over scarce public goods like frequencies. Now, following the farming out of ABS-CBN's former frequencies to a number of companies, including two to the Villar Group, the country's competition watchdog now says it wants a say in the granting of the scarce public good. Is the NTC amenable to that? Let's discuss that and more with NTC Deputy Commissioner Edgardo Cabarrios. Good morning, Commissioner Cabarrios. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Sir Jess. Good morning, Ma'am Daniel. And good morning po to all.
All right, sir. The PCC, while acknowledging that they have no jurisdiction over the reassigning of frequencies, moving forward, they say that they want a say so as to determine impact on competition. Are you amenable to this? And should this be the case, how is this going to affect the spectrum assignment?
First, let me inform you that when we prepared the implementing rules for the third major player, we got the PCC to be involved in that exercise. No? So even if it is not in their mandate, we have asked them to participate. So we recognize their role. But as to broadcast, it is competition here is entirely different from telco. Competition in the broadcast this is free-to-air broadcast, so that means they can survive through advertising revenues. And advertisers will go to you if your program is received by many viewers. Even if you have 10, 20 programs, even if all of these are not received by the viewers, you do not control the market. So it is entirely different. As far as broadcast is concerned, it is entirely different as that of the telco. Mm-hmm. So the channels 14 to channel 51, there are 38 channels. And digital television, you can have up to more than 200 programs that can be shown from channel 14 to channel 51. Ang dami po noon. Even if you go into high definition, you can have more than 100 programs. Ang dami po noon. So it is entirely different. As I've said, this is entirely different from the telco, because in the telco you have subscribers. Here you have to get advertisers, mm-hmm. for you to get your revenue. It's entirely different. It is a matter of producing good programs that will attract the viewers and attract advertisers. Hindi po yung number of channels.
But Commissioner, do you feel like this will not in any way raise future questions on competition? Especially you have the PCC in its statement singled out AMBS, saying that it can only have purview on the matter until details of the Villar Group's acquisition of AMBS and its relation to StreamTech are made public. Now, is it possible for us to have questions on competition here, and how is this going to affect the assignment of the two frequencies to AMBS?
Perhaps, well, they have the mandate on mergers and acquisitions. Doon po na lang. But as far as I think it is necessary, because I've said the revenue does not come from subscribers; it comes from advertisers. So the good program you produce, it is received by many, you get the revenue. So it's really different. No? It's the ball game is different as far as between broadcast and telco business.
Okay, now, Deputy Commissioner Cabarrios, one of the major questions here, of course, when it comes to the reassignment of frequencies would have to be the timing and the recipients of these frequencies, of course. The timing is curious only because also it is granted before a ban during the election period on the granting of franchises. Can you honestly say as well, since we do know that the process is on a first come and first served basis, can you honestly say that the reassignment is above board, and are you willing to make public the list of applicants for frequencies and how many applicants are in line?
Well, everything is above board. You know, first is the vacated frequencies, no? Because the franchise of ABS-CBN expired and no renewal, and the authorizations were canceled, and the spectrum, TV channels and radio AM and FM channels were recalled. And more than 1 year already. So this remain unutilized. These are limited public resource. This public resource should be used for the benefit of the public. So the commission thought that more than 1 year is long enough for us to decide on whether we can now assign this for the benefit of the public. And that's the reason why we sought the guidance from the ICT and legal opinion from DOJ. So this is what happened. Then after that, we get favorable response from the ICT and the DOJ. We proceeded. We instructed our technical staff to take a look at the applications, and they submitted their evaluation on regarding this advanced media, etc. So there was an en banc session conducted early this year, and the en banc, the commissioners decided unanimously to grant provisional authority to AMBS and assign channels 16 for digital television. So this is what happened. We do not want the public to wait for another month, etc. Because these are already available and they remain unused for quite some time already.
Sir, well, this is Danny po jumping in. We'll go back po to the point of the DICT and what their position is here. But just to reiterate, sir, the advanced media, so AMBS, the application is 16 years old. You have a couple of others then, Aliu, Suarasug, also from 2007. How long ba po can applications be rendered valid? Hindi ba outdated na po yung 16-year-old application?
Hindi naman po. Take a look. In 2006, when they apply, the commission started discussions already for transition from analog to digital. But at that time, most of the countries are using the European standard, digital video broadcast standard, European, that was 2006. And advanced media applied already during the time because there were talks already. But they have to wait for the guidelines for the introduction of digital television. And that came 5 years later. The commission decided to adopt the Japanese standard, ISB-TVT. And then 2 years later, the implementing rules were issued. And under that implementing rules, following the advice of the technical experts in the field of digital television, they said that there is a need to simulcast analog and digital because the consumers, the TV households, are not yet ready to receive digital television. So they have to buy set-top boxes. So simulcast is necessary, and therefore the available spectrum at that time has to be assigned to those doing analog transmission. And they said that during the transition, there should be no new authorizations for digital television granted. So na-stall na naman yung application niya until the shut off. However, 2020, nag-iba po yung situation eh. Because of the recall of the frequencies, nagkaroon po ng availability. And that's why we sought the guidance from the ICT and legal opinion from the OJ.
Okay, sir, you mentioned po that you were in talks with the DICT and also you had an unbanked session. But former DICT Secretary Eliseo Rios said that there should have been actually a public hearing when you talk about the assignment of these frequencies. How did you go about this whole process? Bakit po walang public hearing? And also, does ABS-CBN still have the ability to challenge the granting of the frequencies?
No, it's like this. When you apply, your application undergoes quasi-judicial process. These are formal hearings, just like courts. So oppositors are given chance to air their opposition and present evidence or oral or documentary evidence in the same manner as the applicant is given the chance also to prove his case, etc. So it underwent. If they are looking at reallocation of frequencies, there is no need because these are allocated for broadcast already. So there's no need for public hearing because there are no reallocations of frequencies. These are assignments of frequencies. It's different. They were assigned these frequencies because they are qualified based on the evidence presented and the evaluation of our tech staff.
Now, Commissioner Cabarrios, we do know that you've mentioned in the past that should ABS-CBN be granted a franchise once again, kailangan ulit nilang pumilya. They have to stay at the back of the line since the process is first come, first served basis. Now, if we're considering that demand is high and that the supply is scarce, isn't it about time that we try to rethink the process? Instead of a first come, first served basis, shouldn't it be done through bidding instead?
Yeah, but the situation is different. When you go into full digital, when you transition digital, you have 38 channels, and each of these channels can accommodate 6 programs. 6 programs, standard definition programs, 6. So more than 200 programs for the entire. So that means if each company has 1 program, there are more than 200 companies that can be accommodated. So what I'm trying to say is that if ABS-CBN applies and granted, they can talk to 3 or 4 companies with authorizations and build a single a common transmitter and share the cost, and they can air their programs there. So I don't think it is a hindrance for ABS-CBN. Once ABS-CBN has the franchise, they can apply. And then they can discuss matters with the others and come up with shared transmitters. It is more economically or cost-effective way of transmitting your programs because you are incurring less costs than you own only one transmitter. You own the transmitter, but you are only airing a single program. Sayang, you are the 5 program channels are unused. So these are waste of resources also.
All right. Shared transmission an option for ABS-CBN, at least according to NTC Deputy Commissioner Edgardo Cabarrios. Again, thank you very much for your time this morning, Commissioner Cabarrios.
Thank you very much, Sir Jess and Ma'am Denny. Thank you.
Here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on, courtesy of the Philippine Star. The government will borrow another 200 billion pesos from domestic investors next month, similar to the January program. The Treasury says it decided to keep the borrowing volume at this amount despite risks posed by the ongoing taper policy and looming Fed rate hikes. 4 tranches of 15 billion pesos in T-bills and 4 batches of 35 billion pesos of T-bonds will be auctioned off next month.
Now, SAPI expects electronic exports to expand by 10% this year, this as global demand continues to rise. SAPI Chairman Glenn Everett told the Philippine Star that they are generally optimistic about growth in 2022. But he said that this depends on the improvement of inbound and outbound logistics flow, healthy supply chain, and the continuing opening of the country. SAPI also estimates that the country's electronics exports reached around $45 billion in 2021.
The government and the United States have affirmed their intentions to work together to improve the country's agriculture sector. This came out of DA Secretary William Dar's virtual meeting with U.S. official Heather Variava. Dar says they discussed to Variava the agency's reform agenda to consolidate, modernize, and industrialize the Philippine agriculture sector. The DA also highlighted its ongoing actions to address challenges brought by the pandemic.
Economists are attributing last year's bloated trade deficit to the further reopening of the economy, especially in the last quarter of 2021. Now, RCBC Chief Economist Mike Ricafort said the increased economic activities resulted in higher importation. In particular, global oil prices soared to a 7-year high, while other imported commodities also spiked. Now, apart from higher oil prices, ING senior economist Nicky Mapa said firms stocked up on raw materials and consumer imports after inventories were drawn down throughout the past 2 years. With that, trade deficit swelled to a 3-year high last year. Now, the Bangko Sentral is pushing for tighter laws against currency counterfeiting that's following reports of fake bills dispensed by ATMs.
The BSP also warned banks that they could be held liable for releasing counterfeit banknotes. Shaila Francisco with the report.
Karen, not her real name, was forced to buy her own fake money detector after falling victim to a counterfeit bill. Just last week, she was informed by a bank that a 1,000 peso bill from her car loan payment was fake. She was given a counterfeit receipt and is now planning to report it to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas.
Baka makulong din po ako. Siyempre, natatakot din po ako kasi sabi ko nga po sa tanda ko pong ito, never pa po akong napeke sa pera.
Part of the money came from Karen's friend, who said it came straight from an ATM.
Yan po naniniwala na peke. Dahil sa ATM, kung winidraw ko, kalokohan naman nalolokohin namin sa patagal na namin kaibigan yun.
The bank that owns the machine is now looking into the matter. Other ATM users have also expressed their concerns over the incident.
Yung may mga pera na nabubogos, di ba? Kaya pag nag-withdraw na po ako ay tinitingnan ko rin mabuti kung para iwas.
Hindi natin dapat maranasan yun kasi sa kanila nga nanggagaling yung pera eh. So bakit tayo dapat yung mag-hassle? Dapat silang mag-hassle doon.
The BSP, for its part, is reminding the public to always check banknotes through the feel, look, tilt approach. A bill is legit if one can feel that a security paper is used and prints are embossed. One can also look for a watermark, scattered security fibers, asymmetrical serial numbers, and the word Filipino in baybayin. Lastly, tilted to see the movements of the colors and design bearing the denomination value and the word BSP. Colors of the embossed denomination value and the pearl placed on the side should also change. Holders of a suspected counterfeit banknote are advised to immediately report it to the bank that owns the machine. The fake bill should be replaced if proven that it came from the ATM. Banks will also be held liable if they fail to observe protection measures for their clients.
ATM services are part of core banking function of deposit taking, and banks are bound by law to exercise the highest degree of diligence
The BSP is now looking at tighter measures for currency operations. Currently, production of counterfeit money carries a jail sentence of at least 12 years and a maximum fine of 2 million pesos. Shaila Francisco, We Are One News.
And that's a first look into the business day this Friday, January 28, 2022. I'm Jess De Los Santos.
And I'm Danny Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We Are One News.